Hey, howdy, hey. I just clicked the go live button, but I literally just got off the phone with Daniel Colborn. We were recording an episode of No Plans to Merge, and I am not prepared. So please let me know if the audio works. If the audio and video look good, then I'm just going to get going. But maybe there's some setting I need to change. So throw it in the chat if you could. Let me know if the world is turning. Yeah, I will await your live chat. See if I can pop out chat. Nice. Pop out chat. Put this in the bottom corner. Okay, all is well. Looks good. Wow, cool. First try. Literally just opened up OBS like 3 minutes ago. All fine. Guten Abend. All right. Well, that's good news. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining. Did I not tweet this out? I swear I just... Let me make sure I tweeted out that I'm streaming. Dude, I didn't tweet it. All right, let me share this here. Share. Streaming live now. Tweet. Okay. And oh my gosh. He's sending me YouTube videos I made forever ago. That's very funny. All right. So we tweeted out the stream. We are ready to go. I haven't really thought too much about what I want to do for this stream. So I figured we would go through a couple Alpine PRs. I actually figured we would refactor the X4 in Alpine. Decol. I figured we would refactor X4 in Alpine because I thought that would be fun, and it feels like the X4 file is just a little bit, the method's just way too big, not good. So let's zoom in on Alpine here, and let's do some Alpine stuff. Feel free to throw in the chat if you, actually before we even start this, I want to get a hold of the latency. I want to know what the latency is. So as soon as I say type hello, I want you to type hello and hit enter. So ready? 3, 2, 1, type hello. And I'm just going to wait. I'm sorry, you're going to have to watch me waiting. Okay, that's not bad. Oh, that's so much better. So that's great. It was like 15 seconds before. Now it seems to be like 5. In the YouTube stream settings, I have stream latency, which you can't see for some reason. That's annoying. I have stream latency set to ultra low. So hopefully it says that it might degrade the quality or something, but just keep me posted if the quality starts to suck. But I can actually get live feedback from you now, which is fantastic. Okay. So feel free to throw in the chat if there's something you want me to work on or to call my attention to. I have the chat open like right now live the whole time. So feel free. Hey, Jason, you can say hi to me. You can say hi to other people. You can chat. You can talk to me. We can just totally interactive. Hey, everybody. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to crack open a pull request unless somebody points me in a specific direction. About 5-second delay on my end. Okay. Yep, that's a number I can live with. It's no Zoom, but it's also not what it was last week. So that's pretty good. Okay. So we have I should quit Telegram so that nobody accidentally pops up on Telegram while I'm streaming. Inherit extra vars in X4. So here's like, there's a bunch of issues with X4, or at least pull requests. So add support for looping over objects. Ryan Chandler. He's in the chat. He did that one. Next tick runs before X4 finishes. Simone, I know how to pronounce his name now. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He made that one. There's probably some more X4 stuff down here. Improve X4 reactivity. So there's a bunch of X4 related things. So I think it would be really helpful to Chandler like friends. Okay, great. Option click the notifications icon top right to turn off all notifications too. Okay, yeah, that's good to know. So, all right. So let's dig into X4 and what should the starting point be? Let's maybe review a couple of these PRs just at a glance, and see what needs to be done here. So some test classes were not calling the assertions. Some tests for classes were not calling the assertions. Interesting. A linter would have probably caught this. So let's just look at the code and see if, okay, so this is actually to be truthy is not being called. And the test pass, this is an easy merge. Thank you, Hugo. That needed to happen. So merged. Too easy. Hi, I love LiveWire and Alpine. Nice, Ali. That's great to hear. Glad you like them. Yep, easy wins. All right, so explained the transition example using Tailwind classes. This is a docs thing, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Inherit extra vars in X4 scope. So this is interesting because this is something that we implemented last time. Fixes has worked for me, but I don't know if it's a proper solution. Ryan, I want to shout out and just say thank you up front for all the work you've been putting into this project. Super helpful. This has worked for me, but I don't know if it's the proper solution. Includes tests. Fixes. So this we talked about last time. It's nice when I get a bird's eye view of what this PR is doing and not just referencing an issue. But this will do for now. Nested X4 cannot access outer loop variable from inside inner loop. So if you have like an outside loop and you have item, and then you have an inner loop with item 2, you should be able to access item dot subitems, but he's saying that you can't. Ryan says there's not currently support. I can't see it being too hard to implement. Would definitely be some restrictions and conventions needed. All right, so this looks like a good one worth looking into. Ryan is also the UK drill recommendations plug. UK drill recommendations plug? I don't know what that means, Decol. Ali says, I have a problem with Vanilla.js and LiveWire. Sent you emails 2 days ago. In general, if you send me a personal email asking for help on LiveWire, I actually try to respond to most people, but I don't promise a response. And basically, I don't officially offer help to people reaching out to me with private messages or emails because I just can't do that. I can't, help everybody individually. So go to the forums, go to the Discord, stuff like that if you have a specific problem that you want help with. UK drill is a genre of British rap. Ryan has links. Okay. Lots of links. Wow. Cool. All right. So here's a little bit of a fork in the road. I'm working on a new version of Alpine where I know this works. So part of me is like, maybe we should just hold out for that. But the other part of me is like, well, I don't just want to not tend to the currently supported version. So I've just talked that through in my head right now. We are going to add support for this version. So glad we figured that out. This whole stream right here might turn into us just refactoring X4 because I want to understand it better myself. Even though I wrote it, I want it to be more expressive. So let's see. X4 vars, extra X4 vars. Okay. Yeah. So this apparently fixed his problem, but I think we need to refactor X4. And I think that would be a nice exercise to like really, do it right. Run our tests, refactor our code, make sure our tests pass, and rinse and repeat until we get something more manageable. And then we can approach something like this. So let's keep looking at the X4 open PRs and see if that sort of supports what I want to do. Add support for looping over objects with X4. Okay. This pull request closes and on the other issues, blah, blah, blah. This is supported in Vue. It makes sense to support it here too. When looping over an array, you can use the following expression. Okay. When looping over an object, to keep the syntax in line with Vue implementation, you can use the following syntax. Gotcha. So items, value key collection, value key index. Got it. Okay. That's pretty interesting. That makes sense. So basically what Ryan is saying is that if you, let's open up Alpine. Okay. So we're going to open up Alpine, and this is what Ryan is proposing. So he's saying, oh, I changed my Vim plugin and it does this weird underscore thing. And then I have to, wait a second. Weird. It's just misbehaving right now. You're going to watch me so you don't have to stare at me struggle this entire stream. Let's actually disable that plugin. So Vim, right now I'm using Simple Vim that somebody recommended to me. So I'm going to disable it. And now we are going to use AmVim, which is what I'm used to. That works pretty well. That's at least the best one that I've come into contact with. Okay. So xdata. Right now you could say foo is an array. You could say, all right, let's do items. So items is an array, like 1, 2, that sort of deal, right? And then in your template tag, which remember, I can't write the template tag with Emmet, x4 item in items, okay? And then do something like xtext item. Well, what Ryan's saying is, what if you had this? Like let's say like foo bar bar baz, something like that. That you could say item in items, and now item for the first one would be bar, second one would be baz. And if you wanted, you could say this, like item and key. And then item would be bar for the first iteration, and the key would be foo, if that makes sense. Ryan, if you could confirm that in the chat so that we all have the same understanding. Man, we need another newsletter of your VS Code series now that you tease us with your setup. Yeah, it's coming. All right, so that's what Ryan's saying. It makes sense to me, although I'm hesitant to expand the scope of this implementation, at least without refactoring X4 first. So it makes sense to me. I'm also curious how many people are interested in such a thing and what the general use cases for are. Yeah, so colors. Here's one. Colors, red, green. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yep. So the thing with X4 is like when you're doing everything else, it doesn't feel like templating to me. Like doing all your templating in JavaScript. When you're using X4, it's like all your templating is JavaScript. And then we get into all these extra things that Alpine wasn't necessarily meant for. Like people, want to use it to basically be a front end for an API, which is not necessarily what Alpine was meant to do. So I'm always hesitant to pay way too much attention to this. And the better I make X4, the more people want to use it. So anyway, I do think Alpine should support it. I'm not sure if I want to pull it in right now. Fix typo in README. Okay, let's look if there's any more. Next tick runs before X4 finishes updating. So I'm just going to look straight at the code and see if this is an obvious thing here. So this is all he did was extract this into a separate method and call it or reset it in component. Okay. Okie doke. So this one seems like pretty doable, but I don't have a full understanding of it yet. So why don't we take this time and do some refactoring, basically like old school refactoring together. We will put our heads together. Let me get that chat back. Okay. Okay, got the chat. So let's make sure that we got a new branch and we're ready to do some work here. This is in Alpine's core. So what do we have? We have some things modified. What's modified? This is my stuff. Yeah, what was I doing there? Not sure. Probably teaching somebody something and not sure what's going on there. So, all right, so I'll update my local and create a new branch called refactor X4. Okay, and now let's take a look at the X4 tests. So we have these tests, and they're removes all elements when array is empty, removes all elements when array is empty, but had multiple items, elements inside of loop are reactive. Okay, so there's a decent number of tests. It's good enough. So let's start with, we're gonna get our build going. So say npm run watch. Okay, and we'll kind of shove this over to the side here. And that's going to be building. And then we're going to say jest for, which is going to run that, that for spec. And I'm going to add watch and see if this works. I don't often do this, actually. I don't often keep the jest watcher running, but let's try this. So we're going to have the builder running. Roll up is going to be running in watch mode, and we're also going to do our first run of the for spec, and then we're going to keep it watching so that as we code, we can get feedback if X4 is still passing. The reason I don't love this workflow is because I don't want to wait. Like every time I save it, I don't want to fire all the tests. You know, I don't know. It's just like my muscle memory hits Command S all the time. But we're going to try it because it feels like the right thing to do. How's everybody feeling about this? Everybody on board with this, doing some code refactoring on X4? Let's see how many people are in this stream. 46. Wow. Is that real? That's a lot. That's more than I expected. Go for it. Cool. Dabbing. All right. We shall. I'm going to move this guy over a little bit and minimize. My VS Code window management is something that I'm working on nailing. There's no perfect solution out there. But yeah, so let's do, sorry that you have to watch me arrange this so that it's pretty, but that's what we're going to do. I'm going to make this thin. Yep. Thin and tall. And then VS Code is going to sit right next to it. Right there. Okay. Most legit streamers already have all this stuff taken care of. So all of the X4 magic in Alpine, let's go to component. Component's the big file where everything happens in Alpine. And there's a method called update element that calls resolve bound attributes. And this goes through the element and it looks through all the attributes and detects if there are any. So if it has X model, then call handle attribute binding directive, whatever. If it has X text, then set l.intertext. Okay, so we're looking for X4. So here it is, case 4, handle for directive. And we pass in a bunch of stuff. We pass in the current component. We pass in the element that has X4 on it. We pass in the expression, which would be hey in Hayes. That string, hey in Hayes, would be this expression. Initial update is a Boolean. It's set to true if it's the first render so that we don't transition things in. So if you have a transition set, for the first render, it disables transition. So that's just a flag for that. And then extra vars, this is a function that gets passed along to other functions. Liam says, I take it that if you're willing to do a big chunk of refactoring like this, you're not sold on that Alpine rewrite just yet. No, I am, Liam. I just, this will actually probably help because the rewrite's going to use a lot of the same code. It's more of a rewrite of the core. But no, I don't, I would, but really here's the reasoning behind it. I want the Alpine rewrite to be fantastic and thorough, which means it's going to take a while. So I don't want the current version of Alpine. I don't want to feel like the current version of Alpine sucks. If I feel like that, I'm not going to want to work on it. So I want to make sure that it feels good. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So extra vars, basically, if you've been following along these with statements where you can pass in like some object and then inside of the object, like let's say that object equals foo and bar, then in here you can just say like, you can't do echo, but whatever. You could say echo foo, and foo is a property of object and it'll work. It's a magic thing in JavaScript. So what this gets populated with comes from this extra vars. So if there's an object in extra vars like this, then this expression here is going to get evaluated with this in the scope. So you'll see this get passed around all the time. I don't love that it gets passed around so often, but I think it's kind of the way it has to be. And even in my rewrite, I have to do the same thing. Oh, what am I doing? I'm making stuff worse here. So with my terminal open, I'm going to hit save and let's see what happens. We're building and we're testing. One of the issues is the jest tests use the output of the bundle, but the watcher is triggered from me just saving the actual file first, which is pretty dumb. So we're going to see if this is even like a good solution without me having to customize the jest watcher. I might just disable the jest watching. All right, so now this handle for directive, this actually comes from a dedicated file called directive/for. So if we look in the source of Alpine, this is like the whole source right here. These are the main files, and then these are the directive files. So there's for.js, and now for.js is a handful of methods. So here's the big one, handle for directive. Way too big. Look at that. That's a beast because it's a bunch of nested loops. Not good. That's what I want to refactor. And then there's this one method called parse for, and then there's this other one, get this iterations key from template tag. So a lot of opportunity for refactoring. What's your screensaver? It looks so beautiful. Let's see. Some of the words are getting cut off here. It looks so beautiful sitting in the background. Yeah, this is just it's a default Mac thing. Yeah, if you look through your, I'm trying to think of if I have a good way to like show it. And I don't think I know how to show that just a screensaver without, well, whatever. Okay, give the people what they want. There it is. Comes with every Mac, at least Mojave. Yeah, let's get back to that. Okay. All right, so like I said, I don't think this is actually running in the right order. So I'm going to kill the jest watcher, and we're just going to run jest for and hit enter when we're ready to run the test after we make a change. So we're passing a bunch of things into, scrolling up. We're passing a bunch of things into this. I don't think there's any way to get around that. So I'm not going to try to optimize what's being passed in here. So my first goal is maybe we'll read through and we'll wait for the first thing we feel is not ideal, and then maybe we'll start refactoring. So up front we say, hey, if the tag name of the element is not template, then say x4 directive should only be added to template tags. Now, somebody did this earlier and they didn't see this warning. So I just watched a live stream of the people from the Dev2 podcast, and they did some Alpine exploration, and this didn't actually work. So why don't we really quick make sure that this works? So if we go into example.html, this is where I toy with stuff. Let's say we have an Alpine component, and we're going to say x4, what am I doing? X data, items, foo, bar, okay? Then inside of here, we're going to have a div. This is going to be x4. Now you can't x4 on a div, it needs to be on a template tag, so I'm trying to break it intentionally. Item in items. And then inside of here, we'll have a span with x text item. Save this. Open it up in the browser. Paul Moore, I saw the stream too. The warning was there. They just didn't read it as they were looking for errors. Oh, good to know. This is a little bit unwieldy here. Let's make this a bit smaller. And this, see what we're dealing with. Yeah, is the error there? Type error. Oh, it's in warning. Right. So if I enable warnings, Alpine X4 directive should only be added to template tags. Yeah. But well, at least I disable warnings because gets a little bit yucky. All right. Well, that's good enough for me. That's what Vue.js does, so I guess I'm all right with that. So then this makes sense. We're good on that. Right out of the gate, do a check and warn. Do we strip this out into a separate method itself and do something like warn if not template tag, something like that, and then pass in L? I think so. Let's do it. Warn if not template tag. I think that's really straightforward. So let's do that. We're going to add a method down here called warn if not template tag that accepts an element. Yeah, it's pretty interesting because it's not actually a guard method. I mean, it is. You're right, but it doesn't like return early, But this is a little bit more explanatory. Explanatory? Is that even a word? Yep. Okay. So worn if not template tag. Got that out of the way. Sounds good. Hey Caleb, huge fan here. Can you tell me what font you're using in VS Code? This is Operator Mono. I also recommend Dank Mono or Fire Code. There's a bunch of good ones, but I used to use Fire, then I use Dank, then I use Operator Mono. All are good. Operator Mono is like $1 million. I got it for free because I did that Laravel sticker contest thing, and they donated one, and they also gave me a copy. So I probably wouldn't have bought it on my own, honestly. But Dank Mono is like $40 and still has the fancy cursive stuff. So you might like that. Handle for directive. Okay, so here up front, this is, so parse for, this should be parse for expression at least. So let's rename that. Parse for, whoops. Yeah, I wish, this is something I don't like about VS Code. Parse for expression. And then there should be no space there. I don't think I put spaces. Okay. Parse for expression. This was taken from Vue's core. And now that we're in this for expression thing, SF Mono with ligatures is super nice. Thanks for the stream, Caleb. What's SF Mono? Interesting. Is it free? I don't know. All right. So this is taken almost straight out of Vue.js's core. And like a part of me wants to refactor this too, but I think it's okay for now. It's just a little bit, there's kind of a lot going on. Maybe this would make me feel a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe this will make me feel better. Okay, good enough. All right, so what this does is it takes an expression like this. X4 hey in hays. Let's item in items. Even better, let's say item index collection, because you can do this. And then basically single is equal to item, that name, index is equal to the current index, so let's say 0 or whatever. And then collection is equal to like if you called it collection, what am I doing? I'm doing this wrong. Iterator 2. Sorry. Single is equal to item. Bunch is equal to items. Iterator 1 is equal to index. Iterator 2 is equal to collection. And now this makes sense why they kept these generic and didn't call this index and didn't call this collection, because Vue also supports the object syntax, which in that case, this is going to be the key and this is going to be the index. So that's probably why they did that. I hate the fact that there's 1 and 2, but I kind of get it, because if they were being more generic, but you know, we can't have our heads in Apple San Francisco Mono, free, but you need to add the fire code ligatures via script. Yikes. Seems like a lot of customization, but I'm sure it's great. So I think we should refactor these to look a little bit better, even though they might be less generic for the future. We're going to only focus on the now. So let's look at our words here for these. We have single, bunch, iterator 1, iterator 2. What do we want these names to be? X4. So item is single. What would these be called? Would this be called, are these keys? Are these item name? Is this like, you know what I mean? Shout out in the comments if you have this. I learned you can do item of items in X4. Yeah. Yeah. What should single be called? So value is way too generic for me. But yeah. And maybe this should be an object itself, you know, instead of doing this destructuring. Maybe this should be called, let's toy with this for a second. So we have some context here, because I was going to say, like, if we did like single key and like bunch key or single name, you know, like I think we kind of want it to be named, call it singular. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Singular is probably better. Singular, multiple, you know? Oh, it's tough. So let's take a look at it in the context of this. We parse the for expression, we get back an object, and this is going to be called, let's say, iterator names. Iterator names? Yeah. Singular, plural. Yeah, that could work. The iterator number 2 is also a plural, but singular and plural. Single and group also makes sense to me. Plural feels a little weird to me. This is like single group of items, you know? Single and group. I might just change bunch to group and make it single. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to call this iterator names for now. We're going to parse the for expression and get the iterator names. Throw something in the comments if you think there's a better word than iterator names. Group is also okay, yeah. So this is going to be called iterator names. And inside for expression, this is going to be single, and bunch is going to be group. Okay. And then there's iterator 1 and iterator 2. I hate those names. MDN uses element for the single item in their docs. Interesting. Element. Yeah, that feels confusing though in the context of this because we have L, you know. I'm going to stick with single. So I'm settled on single and group. There's iterator 1 and iterator 2. And this I feel weird about. So what if this is index and collection? I think that's the best thing to call them. Single, group, index, collection. So now iterator 1 is going to be index, lone group, yeah, possible. And then this is going to be collection, iterator 2. So single, index, collection. I'm good with that. Okay. So now we have iterator names that has single, group, index, and collection. And now anytime we call these, we're going to use iterator names dot. So let's do that. We have, let's find all the places that we use them. So this was originally, it was single, bunch, and iterator 2. So let's find the areas we're using single. And there's better ways to do this, but I want to manually do it. I want to manually like find them and edit them so that I can kind of witness where they're being used myself. So right now this is get this iteration from template tag. So I'm passing these in as a group of parameters, and I can avoid all that if I pass in iterator names. And then I wonder what this pulls in because we might want to refactor this. So component L, single, iterator 1, iterator 2, I index group. Yucky. Yuck, yuck, yuck. What is going on here? Key aliases. Yeah, this is just poorly done. Shame on you, Caleb Porzio. Singular iterator, group iterator. Yeah. I like where I'm at with these iterator names and then single group. So we're good on those names for now. Oh, you were saying instead of iterator 1 and iterator 2. Yeah. Yeah, that's but I would probably be confused by that. Oh, I renamed them to index, right? Yeah, I renamed them to index and collection, which I'm okay with for now because it's become kind of a convention, like at least in the docs. So, okay. So let's see what we're using. We're using the element. Are we using component at all? Yes, we're using component. We're using element. Yes, we're using element. Single gets used here, but let's put in iterator names. And now where we used single is going to say iterator names.single. And now let's kill that. And now iterator 1, wherever we use that, is going to be, so this will be, and we can think about refactoring this a little bit later too, this if statement. So if iterator names dot index. Okay. And then if iterator names dot collection. Okay. So this is the actual collection or the bunch, right? Okay. These are the three keys that are important. A lot to keep track of. But we would want to call this single, right? Yeah. Huh. Or do we do like item and items, you know? Like item, items, instead of single. Should we name this? Let's see, parse for expression. Should this be, instead of single, should this say item? And then instead of group, should this say items? Item. We should do that. We should do it. Item, items, index, and collection. Oh, I might have just did a bad refactor. Backing out. Single is now going to be called item. Group is going to be called items. Index, item slash item conveys the whole singular Perl thing pretty well. Yeah, good call, Hugo. Thoughts about JS docs for clarity? I don't know what that means. What are JS docs, like doc blocks or something? Not familiar. Okay, so I think this is good because now we're going to establish this pattern. Because this is what the docs would say. Item, index, collection, items. Why don't we use these names exactly? You know, item is item. Items is item. Index is index. And collection is collection, right? I like that. Don't forget the res.item equals single. Did I miss that somewhere in here? Yes. That's what this should be, right? Item, yep. Okay, thanks. I think you missed a single. So I definitely missed them in other places. Did I miss it there? Or you guys have the lag. So where's that right here? No, okay. All right, I think we're doing good here. Parse for expression. That one's all set. But now in here, we have component L iterator names, and this is going to be item. So I is going to turn into item. So let's do that. Okay, not that one, not that one. It's gonna make me go through all these I's. Is this the only other place that gets used? This is gonna be item. And now index is gonna be index, exactly how it is. And now group is going to be items. So we use group right there. Now it's gonna be items, right? So key aliases, iterator names dot item, iterator names dot index, if there's index, if there's collection. Is this right? Yep. This is right. This is good. And then evaluate return key attribute dot expression. We can figure that out later. Key aliases. Figure that stuff out. Okay, I think we're doing good. So component L, iterator names, item, index, and items. So now let's go to where we call this. Component L, iterator names, and this is going to be item, index, and items. And now we'll rename those. So in the parent loop here that we haven't really got to yet, we're going to rename this to item. So because I don't want to go through and find every instance of I and trip up, let's do item, index, and items. Item, index, items. And now every place you see I or group, we're going to change that to those names. So let's see if we see it there. No. Okay. So here this is going to be item. Okay. Items. We're probably going to see that a little bit later. Okay, okay, okay. This one is item. This one is items. All right. I think you missed a single. All right, yep, that was from before. Okay. And I feel like this is pretty good. Now let's take a breather and see if we can get our tests to run. So we have items, we're looping through the items, but we're also putting that as a variable, which feels a little weird to me, but we'll just see if it works right now. So here we go. Testing 4. Failed on all fronts. Okay. Expected 1, received 0. So when I get these failures, it's generally easier for me to just debug in the browser. So why don't we, just as a sanity check, we'll, instead of running those tests every time, we'll just have like a basic thing going on in the browser. Bunch is not defined. So now we search for anywhere that we used bunch. And here we called bunch, but bunch is now items. Oh, this whole thing's going to break because iterator names, there's probably lots of things that should use iterator names. All right, I did too many things at once. That's my fault. It's like refactoring 101. So let's go through and kind of scan for, because right before this, iterator names didn't exist. So now there's places where evaluate return expression. Yeah. So items going into here needs to be this iterator names dot items, if that makes sense. And now let's keep going because there's other places where that's going to be the case. This is all good. Current L, good. It's all good. Key stuff, temporary. Okay, key stuff. It's these that are going to be the liabilities. Right. So instead of here, this is like iterator names dot item. And this is iterator names dot, what is this, index, right? And then iterator names dot collection. Yep. And then we're probably going to copy this exact snippet. We're going to refactor this a little bit later and paste it down here. Let's make sure we're not using anything in the meantime. Okay. Okay. And then another check down here for any places that we use single and I. And this is going to get much cleaner. I can already see how we're isolating things. Need to change those if statements. So that I don't have to deal with this every time, let's files to exclude dist / great. And now we don't have to see those. If iterator 1, cool. Do I have multiple of these? Yep. Dot item. Iterator names dot collection. Okay. Bundle built, refresh, get no error. Okay. Now we can run our full test and see if everything is working there. Okay. And everything is back to green. Okay. Red, green, refactor, people. Loving it. So this now feels good. So this is my approach. The approach is you go step by step and it's like if you feel overwhelmed with a refactoring, if you feel like there's too much here, which I could very easily do, be like, oh, there's too much here. Just start with the first thing and don't take no for an answer as you go. Make it all airtight. This is airtight. I like it. Constant iterator names parsed. Okay. I like this now. This is so much better. Oh, put in the comments if you agree with me. I just need to know someone's there and breathing and appreciating this. Not appreciating my brilliance, appreciating how nice it feels to get order where things were disorderly. Okay, so here we're doing var items. We're creating a temporary variable, which generally is a bit of a smell to me. Then we have if atter. I don't love that name, and I don't know exactly what it is. We do get x attributes, get the if statement. Thumbs up from Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. At least Ryan's watching. That's good. Let's see if everybody dropped off. How many people do we have? 34. No, only 10 people dropped off. It's good, but you need to dig deeper to see what's in it. We always appreciate refactoring. It's good, but you need to dig deeper to see what's in it. What do you mean by that? I'm curious. Okay. Gertjan, if that's how you pronounce that, what do you mean by you need to dig deeper to see what's in it? Okay. So, we have still here, still enjoying. Cool, Paul. Appreciate the brilliance. Yeah. Too many abstractions. Interesting. In what I'm doing right now? Yeah, I don't know, man. I gotta say, as a maintainer of this, like, having to go into all this like massive loop and stuff is a little yucky. But yeah, fair enough. All right, so if attribute, it's a weird one because it's like kind of reads like an if statement. If you want to know what's inside the object, I mean. Gotcha. Yes. If what is iterator names. Yeah, you're right. And you said it correct. Okay. Gotcha. Gertjan. Okay. So if attribute means if there's an if attribute, and we say if there is an if attribute. Yeah. So this is, I guess, the way it has to be right now. This is my hack. So we need to extract a method. Var items equals evaluate items, and we're going to pass in it the expression. No, we're going to pass in it this. We're going to pass in iterator names, and then all of this evaluate items. We pass in L and iterator names. Yeah. And then all of this is going to go into that evaluate items. So let's create evaluate items. Bit odd to pass L into items evaluation. I know. Let's think about that. Yeah, it's true. So let's think. If we didn't have L, we would need to get the if attribute up above, because evaluate items. So what if it said evaluate items and return empty if X if is present on element? That's what's going on. Like, that's the reality of the situation. So it's like I either pull the behavior. Now we're talking. Yeah, evaluate items and return empty if X if is present on element. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It is quite verbose. I'm not afraid of a giant method name. It's like, to me, that can be the good kind of verbosity, but you're right. Is it a deeper, wider issue with directive precedence? That's a good question, Hugo. Like, is this something that should be handled earlier on? It's my hack to this. Okay, so for those following along, this is what this does. X if count is less than 2. And then let's make count 1. Count is 1. Oops. And then we'll make a button that sets. Okay. Observe. You have x4 and xif on the template tag. Evaluate items is not defined. Oh, because I saved it, so we kind of broke everything right now. So let's commit to this right now. Demonstrate what I'm talking about. do some nastiness here. Return items. Okay. Refresh because it was in the middle of building. Component is not defined. Okay, so this is... Oops. Component. All right, what's wrong now? Component.evaluate return expression is not a function. I think you're wrong. Component.evaluate return expression is a function. Did I mess up the parameter order or something? L component iterator names. L component iterator names. Something's wrong there. We also need extra vars, which, yeah, this is turning into a little bit of a smell. It's like we need all of these things. Restart watcher? No. At least I don't think so. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was that extra vars thing. All right, so check it out. Count gets incremented and it hides that. And I can't really prove to you much around that because count isn't showing. But if I do this, count is 2. And if I decrement count by 1, it shows again. So this is how Alpine works as far as combining xif and x4 in the same thing. So maybe there's a better solution here. My solution was evaluate xif. So I'll read you the code here. Well, here's the method name. Evaluate items and return empty if xif is present and, I guess, false, right? Is present and false on an element. Yeah. So that's what I do is I'm like, hey, does xif exist? Yes, it exists. And if you evaluate what's inside xif, which we should have extra vars here, if we evaluate what's inside xif and it's false, then set items to empty, which effectively is going to clear all the items. But maybe I don't know if there's a better way to do it farther up the chain. Maybe there is. But the way things evaluate, so let's go to resolve bound attributes. And we're evaluating for x model, x bind, x text, x HTML. This isn't the order. The order is what comes out of get x attributes. So let's say that I manually, inside x attributes, I do some sorting so that xif always comes first. Then if xif took precedence, right, if xif takes precedence, which it might, you know, it shouldn't matter what order you put them in. There should be sorting in the get x attributes. Shouldn't be up to the developer to like care about what order things are on the element. Where are we at here? Almost at an hour. So how would we, I think someone did add sorting. That's funny. Let's see. Not to my knowledge. No, I don't think so. Yep. Unless it happens up here, maybe. But yeah, I don't think so. All right. So if we mandate processing xif first, maybe it didn't get merged. Yeah. Who did that? Who didn't merge it? So maybe if we process xif first, then it's like we could resolve what output is, you know? We could do an if statement here that's like if x4 is on the element and it's false, so xif could be solely concerned with its job and it's false, then we would have to do a, you know what I mean? Like I feel like the current implementation is like the most solid implementation. I don't love that the concerns are split between this expression right here and the for expression. But I don't know. I don't really see an option because like right now, maybe leave it for now. Yeah. Good idea. Let's leave it for now. This is going to be our life right now. Let's refactor this method just a little bit to make it a little bit better. What would be the best thing to do here? So we get the if attribute, and then we could like so if attribute and we could just, I don't know. I'm just trying to get rid of that temporary variable. Okay. This should honestly be here too. We should have a test for that. Then return an empty array. If not, then return. And now I don't need that comment because the method is ridiculously long. Use an early return? Yeah, that's probably a better idea. Yeah, I think I like that better. Good idea. Then return an empty array. Okay, imagine that ternary getting out of hand. Yeah, I don't like the ternary either. This is good. So get the if attribute. If attribute, get xatchers, if attribute, and evaluate the if attribute's expression. If that's false, then return an empty array. If not, do your thing. All right, so I'm good with that for now because that just kind of groups that behavior. But it does kind of force a bigger question of like, it would be nice if there was a way to isolate the exif concerns in one place, and it would be beautiful if that place was actually exif itself, you know? Yeah. Oh, I'm having thoughts. Thoughts. Stop having thoughts, Caleb. Okay. As we walk the array, we'll also walk the DOM, updating, creating as we go. Fine with that comment. So this is a little interesting because we're setting previous L to L. Like already I'm in the zone of being confused because like this is just weird. And then we have items and we're for eaching through, and then we have items inside of that, you know, that loop, which I suppose is fine because in reality, right? Like you don't even need this. If it's called items, we don't need it. It's always going to be what we're for eaching through. So we can kill that, I think. And then we refresh and we make sure that it works. Yeah. And we run the test in the background to double make sure that it works. Okay. So current key and the test pass. Current key, get this iterations. I wish you could do commas in method names or apostrophes. It'd be so nice. So really it should be named like if the key of this iteration, like get the key of this iteration, get key from template tag, get key from, it's just like generate, let's rename this to generate key from expression for, generate key for iteration is what it should be called. Current iteration, generate. Yeah, I don't want it to say current if we're explicitly passing in an iteration. If we're passing in the iteration, we could just say get key for iteration. Ryan likes it, Hugo likes it. Sounds good. Okay. Generate key for iteration. We pass in, I don't like look at, we have this, we need to settle on like an order. So we pass in the component, then the L. And if just for passing things around, it's going to make things a little bit weird if it's not. So that's the only spot that's happening. So let's do component and L. It's probably a symptom of a bigger problem, but for now, at least I want to stay more consistent. Component and L. Okay. So current key is generate key for expression. Component L, We pass in iterator names, we pass in the item, the index, and the items themselves. This makes sense. And I think we're going to see this grouping happening a lot. It's like, you know, like these things, like these are tending to be grouped. Yeah. And, you know, if we were being purely object oriented or whatever, we might like group all things and I don't know, like get out of hand. But I do want to keep things straightforward and inline. Use Vue's custom directive API. Not familiar what use Vue's custom directive API. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean, Hugo. Maybe expound on that. Generate key for iteration. Now this actually reads pretty well to me. Component L iterator names. Let's see what's going on here. We get the bind, any bind attribute. Like we might want to do this up front. You know, some of this work like if attribute and bind attribute, and then if value and bind value. L binding node. Oh, okay. L binding node. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to hold up exactly here because there's more than that. There's like the extra things. You know what I mean? Because we need the component, like component is the component context. So I'm going to stick with this for now. All right, so we get the key attribute, but we renamed to if attribute. So let's rename to actually bind attribute because I think that's going to be a little bit better. So let's say bind attribute. Okay. It's really bind key attribute. Bind key attribute. All right, this expression I would love to simplify. It's pretty, because this is something that's kind of been happening a bit. So key aliases. Let's see what's going on here. Item name. So key aliases get sent into the evaluate return expression, right? So this is being extremely explicit. That's saying the item name. So if it's like foos, foo in foos, this is foo. And then foo is the one specific item. And I think this is an object that we should define up front and pass in throughout. Like I feel like we should do this. Every iteration should have an object called like iteration you know what I mean? Like iteration scope variables. And then every time we define this, and it's going to be like, so let's say get iteration scope variables. It's kind of weird that like having the method name be exactly this, but whatever. I think this is going to make our lives easier. Check this out. Get iterator scope variables. We'll add this before generate key. Why is there space there? Whatever. If only it was a class, could just use a getter. Yeah, that's true. Yep. I've been avoiding classes in JavaScript lately. I think I've been liking that. Okay, so function, get iteration scope variables, pass in iterator names, and then this is where we're going to do that ugly little thing here. Functional Nuno style, like Nuno Maduro. Hey guys, I'm super late. Hey Adrian. Yeah. Get iteration scope variables. So here we're gonna have to rename the crap out of this stuff. Iterator names, item, index, items. That's the common grouping that gets passed in. So we're gonna pass this in up here. If you don't see exactly where I'm going, I think you should in a minute. Okay. Item index items. And now let's make that happen. So this is going to be called scope variables. I don't love all the temporary variable stuff, but we'll see if we can refactor to something better. I might need your heads in a minute. He's quite into functions over classes in Java, in PHP, or just JavaScript. Okay. So a doodly-doo JS, yeah, makes sense. I've been doing it for the Alpine rewrite, and there are some benefits to it. Get iteration scope variables, procedural PHP in 2020. Yep, back to procedural PHP. I'm gonna sit down because my legs are tired. Okay, so let's bang this out here. Iterator names dot item is item. If iterator names dot index, then scope variables iterator names dot index equals index. Perfect. And then collection equals items. I feel like we're missing one. Are we missing one? Is it just 3 all the time? Yeah, I guess it is, right? Dot, like we should also have, like maybe we need dot items at some point, but we'll get to that in a second. So get iteration scope variables. Now we have iteration scope variables. Now when we generate key for iteration, this becomes very easy. Component L, and now we can do this. Generate key for iteration. We get the key attribute. Now remember what we're doing. This is like key equals item or index or something like that. When we evaluate it, we're sending in the element, we're sending in the expression, and the scope that we want attached is going to be key aliases, which is going to be iteration scope variables. Okay. Now I think this is good. Now this is another area, generate key for iteration, where we probably want to be like if, I think this is another good area for a guard clause instead. Const A equals some condition and do some destructuring and inline stuff, would remove temporary variables. All right, we'll take a look at it in a minute. If bind key attribute, like I kind of want to do if not bind key attribute, you know? If the dev hasn't specified a key type deal. That isn't, the transpiled output of that is not a pretty sight. That is actually a good, valid concern for bundle size. So we want to return index, you know? But like, where do we get index? What is index? This would be iteration scope variables dot. How does this work? No, we actually want to pass in index. Component L index. Okay. We return index early, or we evaluate the expression with the iteration scope variables. Object.assign could work too. Oh, yeah, I like that. Let's make this a one-liner. Okay, and I believe there's another place that we use this function, component L index iteration scope variables. I guess not. just two places. Okay. So we have the iteration scope variables. We get the current key. I'm going to let this, you'll see that I'm going to get rid of const in the code base over time. I'm not going to do a big refactor right away, but I'm going to start doing that. Also, I don't know why this is var, but maybe it had to be var for some reason. Usually if it's var, I do it intentionally. I don't just use var willy-nilly, but maybe I do, who knows. So we have the current key, and then we have the current element. So this is weird because it's really like the next element, you know, like right up front, we make it the next element. So I almost feel like this should be like current L and this should be next L. You know what I'm saying? Oh, current L. Current L, right. Yeah, it should be next L. You know what I'm saying? All right, we're going to deal with this. Are we ready to deal? Let's get it passing and then let's see if we can deal with that. Like I said, this is like one of my refactoring principles. I just did it right there. I hit this point. I was like, oh, maybe I should wait till later to see if I want to do that. But no, like if I get into that zone, then I never know where the end is in sight. Or thus far, I know I'm happy with everything up until this point. You know what I mean? All right. So we're getting a parser error. Iteration scope variables. What's the issue here? Unexpected token. Should be iteration scope variables be prefixed with a let, or did I miss that or something? Oh, probably. Bingo. Thank you. This is why we do this. That's nice. Still failing. So let generate key for iteration. Okay. Oh, I hope I didn't like accidentally have a multi-cursor and just screwed up a bunch of stuff, because that is possible. All right, let's give it a sanity check in the browser. Foobar works, exif works. We do a jest4 pass, and hopefully we're good on that. Let's see how many people are still in the stream. 34. Oh, 33, just as I looked. It dropped. Cool. Okay. So we're doing well. So where was I? So here, this is weird because I set previous L to the current L, and then current L is the next L. You know what I mean? It's weird. Like I kind of want to name current L next L and see if I get away with it. So let's try it. Just do it everywhere. Like an animal. Next L. Hit save. Now it's gonna work. Let's say if I call previous L, this is where I might get into some trouble. Previous L, I want to be called current L. Yeah. I think these are going to be better names. Bundle's good. Works. Run the test. Should work. Okay, this makes more sense because it's like now when you're walking through it, you're like, we're starting with the current element, you know? I don't know why I called it previous L. We're starting with the current element and we're looping through, and right away we set the next element because we're going to need to reference it. And now we're saying if there is a next element and the next element has a key, which means it's been, inserted. Yeah. And if the key is not equal to undefined, meaning it exists. And the reason I couldn't just do this is because the key could potentially be 0. And that would resolve to false. Let's check and see if the X4 has already generated an item last time it ran. Yeah. So this is like, is there an XL and was it added from X4 before? And then it's like, if the keys don't match, then look ahead and see if you find a match. This is the stuff that's a little tricky to clean up, Adrian, what's at the end of this long condition? I feel like that applies to life. What's at the end of this long condition? Only one can wonder. So this one specifically is, so if they're, so this specifically, we're saying if we find that X4 has already done stuff, deal with this stuff. Yeah, I think you're pointing at a good thing. Let's write out what the big steps are. If there is if X4 ran last time, or if there's a next element already processed by X4. If update, else init stuff. Yeah. If there's a next element already processed by X4, and then we'll fill in that gap in a second, but let's look at this else. If there's not, then meaning the first, right? Or there is extra items in the array that need to be added as new elements, meaning the page is first loading, right? Means we need to, if there's a next element already processed by, we're going to do stuff, whatever. If there are no previously rendered elements, if there are no elements ahead, then add element for iteration. So then this is going to be, we're going to clone, you're going to, another warn? Or was this warn not up front? Oh, encountered multiple element roots. That's a little check for that. And then insert it into the DOM. And now set it as the next element. Right? Yep. Then insert it into the DOM, set it as the next element, transition it in. Now walk the new DOM node and initialize everything. So add element for iteration, initialize by walking DOM. Okay, so this is where this happens and where this happens, and we're going to want to extract some of this in a minute. So then after that if else here, that's the important chunk right there. Yep. So if there are no elements ahead, then do your thing. Now, next element, right, next element becomes the current element because we're incrementing every time. Like next, that's just maybe a confusing part of it, is like next element is set to the next one. Right, okay, then that makes sense. Because we're dealing with the next one. We're never dealing with the current one because the current one could be template, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. Current L is the current one, and we rarely touch current L. So next L key, we set that element's thing, and now current element equals next element. Then we increment current. So I almost feel like current element should equal next element, and then current L should equal current key. You know what I'm saying? Not L, but X4 key. And I want to rename that too. Does that make sense? So we do that after. So this is the part where we like move to the next one. Yeah, thanks, Hugo. So this makes sense. Okay. Can you move this logic to the top? Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean by move the logic to the top? Oh, move this logic, you're saying? Right, like increment it right away? I don't think so. Can you? So I don't think I would want to. Yeah, right. Because the node, if you think about it, you start with a template element, template tag, and the next one hasn't been created yet. So anyway, we'll stick with this right now because I can't really see into the future well enough. So this is the logic for that loop. Let's spell it out. So did we get that right? If there are no new elements ahead, then add the element, initialize by walking the DOM, and now either way, set the next, set up the next iteration's current node. I think it might make more sense to flip it around. By default, init create node, otherwise update. Yeah. By default, create node, otherwise update. Let me write this out first. Let's get this all written out, and then I want you to remind me what you just said. Yeah. It's tough because I don't know if I'd call it the happy path. Maybe it is the happy path, but it's definitely the first render path. But this is also the happy path of X4 is being manipulated by DOM. But you're right, though. Like, it is easiest to process if you're not considering the future case of it being updated later. Welcome to my world, everybody. Thanks for digging in with me. X4 is one of those things. It's like, it's like a deep multi-loop DOM walking system. Happy path equals readable code. All right, so maybe we end up doing that. So let's write out this condition so we can evaluate what we want the order to be. Because then there's also, what happens after this, which is the cleanup step that we didn't get to. And then that's the last step of this. So maybe we'll put this outside of the loop and write out the entire, so much logic. I know, so much logic. Many edge cases. Yes, agreed. Okay, so if there's a next element already processed by X4, if the next element has already been processed by X4, okay, so let's check to see, right. Okay, if the keys don't match, meaning, we'll think about the happy path first and say, if the keys do match, then what? Right, but I think we need to do if the keys don't match up front. Then we'll rework the logic after we map it out. If the keys don't match. So if the keys don't match, here we go. Buckle up. This is a look ahead. We'll look ahead to see if we can find it further down. So we create a temporary next element that clearly I messed up the camel casing. Create a temporary next element because this is for the temporary loop where we go ahead if we found it later in the DOM. So basically we're doing this while loop. Temporary next element equals such an ugly line of code. So this loop is basically saying loop for the duration that you see new elements in front of you, to remind everybody how X4 works in case you're just like totally lost here. Let's look at the stream and make sure that, okay, we're down to 28. Nobody's going to want to watch these things anymore. Template tag, okay? Then span and span, like a look behind. I guess it'd be a look ahead, right? Did I miss something, Adrian? So this is what happens. When Alpine encounters this template tag, it calculates what items is, foo and bar, and then in that loop, that's the big loop we're seeing. In the loop, it's going, for the first run, these don't exist. So the first run, it goes, is there anything ahead? No. In this iteration, add new element. In this iteration, add new element. Then when you update items and it gets to template tag, it then goes, is there something already added? Yes, there is. Do the keys line up? If there are, then they do, then skip ahead. If the keys, let's say the keys didn't line up, like you change the order of foo and bar, rather than rewriting this to bar and then foo, you would want to look ahead and see if you really need to change the order of these elements. You know what I mean? So you don't like arbitrarily rewrite, like force DOM nodes to be destroyed and recreated, because maybe inside of these you have input elements that have focus, and you would lose the focus if you did that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I hate it when people say that all the time. They're so annoying. You know what I mean? Okay. Clear. Okay, good. Good that it's cleared up. So now this is where we're at. We're in that part of the lookup where we're saying we have a key, but the keys don't match. Is there a key ahead that we can pull in to our current position? So we have this new while loop. We loop through. This is just is next element, but it has a fancy extra thing that's like, is the next element, was it already added by a for loop, you know? We're looping through. We're saying if we come across it right here, then move it to where it's supposed to be in the DOM. So we get the parent element and we insert it before the current element, meaning that's kind of right, because this is nextl. This is the element ahead. We put it right before it, which is its current place. So now nextl equals temp nextl. And now we're in that place in the DOM. Follow me, anybody? Nextl equals temp nextl, because we moved it and then we set it. Oh man, I really hate this, but this is the way it has to be. Does anybody have any experience with this stuff to know if I'm like, I'm overcomplicating it or something? I feel like this is necessary logic, but it's just a lot to take in. So let's write it out. If there's a next element already processed by X4, and if the keys don't match, then look ahead for a match. And look for ahead for a match, pull it out, insert it, and set it as current element. That's what we're doing. But the weird thing is we're actually setting it as nextl, right? Which is weird. I don't know. Life is hard. So let's carry on. If the keys don't match, what happens if the keys do match? If the keys do match, it doesn't matter. This is just like a guard clause up front, because now the keys do match, you know? So that just happens there. So we're back to this level of indentation. Temporarily remove the key indicator to allow the normal update elements to work. Don't worry about that for now. Now we evaluate. We do an update. So now we go through and we update everything. Yeah. So we force Alpine to do an update. Update the element by walking the DOM. So you shuffle it up the tree and then start walking it again from the element you just moved up, right? So you shuffle up the tree and then start walking it again from the element you just moved up. Exactly. Yep, you swap it in place and then just keep walking. Keep doing your thing. Exactly. All right, so that's what happens there. And what happens after update? Then we go to set up the next iteration's current node. So that's that. All right, folks, I'm putting this right up front. It's going right up front because this is going in a loop now. Starting with template. Looping through, starting with the first item and first element template, loop through. Okay. Then we do all that business. When we come out of the loop, let's close out the loop. Now that we've added, updated, moved all the elements for the current state of the loop. Now that we've added, updated, and moved all the elements for the current state of the loop, right? So like the current state's all good. Anything left over we can get rid of. So this is the final cleanup. So this is where the logic gets a little bit yuck, but basically next element from old loop. So we get the next element. Yeah, it's just like we just get the very next element and we just keep looping through and removing them. Basically while next element from old loop exists. and next element from loop equals the next sibling until it doesn't exist, until it doesn't encounter one that's been added, and then that's it. So then clean up any leftover elements from the last time x4 was processed. Okay, post in the comments if you now see it. Post in the comments if the logic for handling x4 is crystal clear to you. And if not, post in the comments what is not clear or what part is fuzzy. +1, yep, okay. Shout it out if it's clear. Have no fear if it's unclear. This is some crazy stuff. Feel free to comment. Let's see how many people we're still rolling with here. 22. We're killing them off. We are killing them off. A bunch of the people that I haven't been hearing from, this is a deeper than normal dive and live stream, but I wanted to do it, and there's a lot of core people on here that are interested in the work as well. So in the future, it may not be this way if you're scared of future posts or future live streams. All right. Alrighty-o. So, okay. So we have the logic clearly spelled out. First, I'll ask you guys if anybody's sitting there, while complexity ++, viewers -. It's true. It makes sense, but I feel like it's just because we've sat through it, not sure how easy it will be for other people coming into it still. Yeah. Okay, Tom says, yeah, there's still a lot of verbosity there. Yeah, for sure. So the question is, does anybody know right now that you've been encountering it, are there better ways to structure this at a bird's eye view? You know, I can turn these all into methods. I can extract these all as methods. But yeah, it is necessary verbosity. But is there a better way to structure this? So you guys were saying that the happy path should be first. So starting with the first item, if there are no elements ahead, right. So you're saying start with knowing that there are no elements ahead, then add the element, right? That's what you want. That's what you want? I'm going to assume, I forget that, like, I'm waiting for your answers, but then I forget that after I get them, you have to listen to me waiting for your answers. So I have to get good at keeping going and then circling back, I guess. +1, yeah. Let's do that. Happy path first. So, okay. That makes sense. So where are we here? Inside the loop, we get the stuff up front. Makes sense? Okay, if there's no previously x4 processed element ahead, add one. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be if... Yeah, I guess I just don't like the way this is going to be expressed, but it's like if not next element or the next elements, right? And then I have to like group this. No, because this is going to be undefined. Or, right, or next L and, you know what I'm saying? It's not pretty. I think one of the confusing bits is that you create a node in the first pass and when you have a bigger array. Yes, that is true. Like, what if we separated this out completely into two different processes? Thanks, Ryan. That would have tripped me up, no doubt. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, Hugo, actually. Like, what if there was just, because this does handle two different cases. It's one algorithm to handle seeding the initial and then also updating it later on. So I wonder, let's think about this. If we just wrote an if statement up front, you know, that's like, if this is the first time, then just loop through and add things. If it's the second time, then walk through, but we'd still, you know, I feel like, yeah, it's confusing when you're thinking about the first iteration, but that's why we're doing the happy path first, right? So that, yeah. Okay, I just had to kind of walk through that in my head. All right. Okay. So this is the happy path now. And so we can, where's that else? Isn't there an else statement? Oh, it's down here. Yeah. So all this stuff is going to get moved up. That's all going to get moved up. And now this stuff gets moved down. Yep. Okay. All right. So we moved the happy path up front. Now let's, meaning the page is first loading. Okay. We moved the happy path up. So let's save and let's run it. Do we need the nextl and part? Since the first condition is not xdel, the right-hand side will only be evaluated at the right. Okay, I'll look at that in a second, Ryan. All right, so we're still working, it appears. Oops. Okay. Do we need the nextl and? Right, so the right side is only going to be processed if nextl exists, right? That's what you're saying? That's pretty cool, because the way JavaScript or, you know, an early exit, yeah, I like it. I dig, I love that stuff. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. If there's no previously X4 process element ahead, add one, okay. And I don't think this is necessary. So this is where we create, I feel like there should be a, let's say add element, add element, right? Something like this, where you pass in the current element. Insert before next element. I feel like we should pass in current element here and then do like a next L thing. But then we're doing current element, next element equals next L. Right, because next L changes when you do that. The next L is going to change. Right. And then transition in. Oh my gosh, does anybody else's head hurt? Okay, so we clone the thing. We check that it's not a duplicate multiple thing. We insert the clone. Yep, we insert the clone before the next element, which makes it the new next. So we have to basically downgrade next so that we get to it next time. Yeah. So I'm trying to look at like what we need. Like, are we passing in add element, next element, add next element in loop. Add element in loop after current L. And then this could equal that, you know? This would be the new next element. That's what we would want to do, because next element's going to change now when we add that. So let's just toy with this and see if we get somewhere. Evaluate items and return of empty. Okay. L and current L. Okay, and then this is going to be this whole chunk. Maybe we could just do it up to here. Yeah, do it up to there. And then next L equals, right? Add element in loop after current L. This is getting better. I'm liking where this is heading. So we have L in here, and now next L isn't a thing right now. So current L dot next. Like, should I pass in? I should probably pass in next L so that it's a little more like current L, add element in loop after current. Yeah, because we're really, well, can we do an insert after? Just make sure that that's a thing. So if we have this rendered out, oh, what did I do wrong? Yeah, I broke everything. Let's get this in here, okay. And then parent element div, add element loop after current L suggest it returns a success Boolean, not the element itself. Add element in loop, maybe append and return element. I don't think it suggests a Boolean. What do other people think? Does it suggest? Does it add element in loop after current L? I would kind of look at the context. I don't know if I agree, but I want to hear from other people. So parent element dot insert before. There's only insert before. Yeah, I don't think it suggests a Boolean because I didn't say is or anything. It is a command. It might not suggest a return, but I think the return is implied by me assigning it. So I'm okay with it. Yeah. Good suggestion though. All suggestions are welcome and encouraged. Helpful. Good thought processes. Okay. So this makes sense. We're going to pass in current L, next L. We have next L, insert after. We do that. We have to use insert after, so we need next L. Then current L dot next element sibling, which is the one we just added. It's the clone now, is set to next L, but we're not doing that in here. We are returning it. And we don't need a lot of these comments because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So now we set next L. Oops. Turn it. Okay. And then we transition it in. Append. Add element in loop after current. Append element in loop. Append element to. Append element after current L. Append element in loop after. Add element in loop after. Add element inside loop after. I don't know. It's tough. Append element after current element. That's kind of what we want to do, right? But we want to append. Let's see if we rewrote this. Parent element dot append. Oh, append is the same as after. It works the same. Ha. Append child, append, what's the difference between that? Append. MDN dot append. Just want to do some sanity check. Like, what's the difference between Thanks, good tip, Adrian. The parent node dot append method inserts a, that's what you were saying the whole time, huh? And I'm like stressing about the method name. You got to be having a good laugh. Append accepts DOM string. Append child only accepts nodes. Allows you to also, whereas that's pretty interesting. Append has no return value, returns the appended node object. Okay. Kind of liking append child so far. append can several nodes and strings, whereas, all right, append child it is. And then append child, you put in the node, but it has to be after one, right? So a set, what am I doing? Parent append. It can't be append, right? Because it has to div append parent child nodes node list p. We have a p tag and we append parent is a div. We append p. Parent child nodes is now p. We need to be able to say that it's added after a specific one. You know what I'm saying? Somebody chime in if we can pass in, because if you think about it, we can't append to the end, of the parent node. Right? Let's insert a JSON element, because that could be even better. The insert a JSON element method of the element interface inserts a given element node at a given position relative to the element it is invoked upon. Why can't be appended to the end? If you think about it, we can't append it to the end because, let's take a look at a DOM string. So if you're in the DOM, see how many people we got. We've increased in numbers? What? How is that possible? Because if you're in the DOM, and let's say we had another template tag right after this, if we appended, it would append past that. You know what I'm saying? It would append like down here. Complexity minus now, yeah. it's a direct correlation. Does that make sense, Hugo? Makes sense. Okay. Right, so what about insert a JSON element? So you pass in a position, right? So this is good. Maybe there's some like browser support issues? No. What? Insert before returns the inserted node, by the way. Great. That's helpful. So I kind of want to, I think we were better off not doing an insert before on the parent and just doing insert a JSON element. I feel like I've been here before though. What's the problem? Position. A DOM string representing the position relative to the target element must match case insensitivity, must match one of the following strings. After the target element itself, after be just inside, before its first child, after its last, after the target element itself, before the target element itself. After end is what we want, right? After end. So we should be able to do that. Let's see if it works. So, also it'd be nice if it returned the element that was inserted. Ooh. Love it. So add element in loop after current thing is going to be return, and it's going to be L dot insert a JSON element. Position is after end, and then the element is the clone. Righto. Then we don't need this. We don't even need this, right? L. Right, no, L is potentially the template tag. Right? L is the template tag. Insert a JSON element is a bit ugly in my opinion since it takes a positional string. Yeah, it's a little bit uglier, but it's actually the functionality I'm after right now, because this allows me to not have to worry about the next element, because it actually feels like a cleaner operation to just append after itself rather than like going up to the parent and then inserting before its sibling, you know what I mean? So like from a logic standpoint, it's much more direct. So I think I like it. So yeah. So return current L, next element sibling. So it's going to return what it needs to return. We're putting this in, we're inserting the clone after the end of L, of current L, right? And then L is the template tag, right? So that's the thing. So this is template element, really. Oops. Go back down. I like template L better. Now I'm saying start off with L. Yeah. L should be called template L. You know what I should be doing is using VS Code's refactoring features because they actually work really well with JavaScript. And now this is, let's try it. Okay. Wait a second. Let's back out and let's see. Let's just try this. Rename symbol. Change all, rename symbol would do wonders for you. Yeah. So I wonder, I hope this isn't my like PHP rename symbol. Template L. Ah! We are rolling. Oh man, I'm just so used to the world of like not getting good IDE support in PHP that I just take it for granted. Oh, we probably could have been moving and grooving this whole time. Like just like highlight something. There's like extract to, we should be able to extract function, right? What's refactor? Extract constant, extract function. What if I did this really quick? Refactor, extract, extract to inner function. Let's try this. Woohoo! And it did it. That's fun. I hope you all enjoyed that like I did. Yeah, right, Ryan? That's so funny. I'm just so used to the world of like never having good IntelliSense stuff in PHP, which is, I've got a decent VS Code, but yeah, this is funny, right? I'm the VS Code guy learning how basic like refactoring in VS Code works. Oh, this whole thing would have taken half the time. Just kidding. What are we doing on time? We're going on 2 hours, but I don't know. If you want to leave, you can just leave. But I'm going to keep working on this until I feel like we've, done a good job here. Yeah, I'm happy too. That's my favorite PHP. Yeah. All right. So we have our logic. Where were we? We were refactoring some stuff before I got all sidetracked on renaming that to template L, which I'm very happy it's called template L now because that's much more descriptive. Isn't it funny how much time you can spend refactoring like one thing, like one function, but it's all good. And as I'm working on it, I have this all in the back of my head. As I'm working on it, I feel all the pain of 1,000 cuts where I'm like, oh, this is poorly named. Oh, this shouldn't be here. Oh, but I can't see the path forward right away. And this is the way to do it. It's just step by step. That's how we refactor. So add element in loop after current L. We have template L. We pass in the current L, which gives us the next L, which we assign. And our goal right now is to save and make sure that this works. So let's do that. We saved and let's refresh the page. All right, current L is not defined. So, man, was that VS Code or was that me? I'll say it was me because I'm not ready to call out VS Code just yet. All right, failed to execute insert adjacent element on element. Parameter 2 is not of type element. Your search and replace. Yeah, thanks, Hugo. I guessed the same. So, failed to execute insert adjacent element on element. Parameter type 2 is clone. Maybe this was what I hit. Insert adjacent element. And this is on import node clone. I know, right? Insert a JSON element. Yeah. I'm wondering if I feel like I've been here before. Probably did all this when I wrote it. HTML DOM insert a JSON element method. I don't think we're going to find anything on W3 schools, but I could be wrong. Why is everything freaking out? I think that tab was losing it or something. I don't know. My fan's gone. Node versus element. Yeah. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Better formatting. Import node, clone. Modified position, child. Where does child set? Child for each clone children. It's getting the children from the clone. Append target. Target. Not sure. Can't you just pass the clone to append child? Yeah, to be clear, the main reason you're interested in this mainly transaction. Yeah, we might. I see. Insert a JSON element does not accept a document fragment. This sounds like something that would be useful to generate document. Why not use command click to open a tab in the background or works on Safari? Why not use command click to open a tab in the background or works just on Safari? I don't know what you mean. Oh, I gotcha. No, I'm sure you could. I was probably just my own muscle memory. Yeah, like if you were on a Google search, you're saying hold command and click. Yeah, that's actually a really good tip. Thanks. I should start doing that. Thanks, Nova. Nova C. What about insert adjacent elements? Notice the plural. You could accept sets of multiple elements, be it document fragments. Nodeless. Interesting. Insert adjacent elements could help, but the key issue is I want a function that can slide in a single chunk document fragment of HTML, hoping that fewer lower level operations can be made, resulting in a performance. Yeah, well, that's the problem, is that insert adjacent element is not going to work. I feel like I've been here before because I would have reached for insert adjacent element first. With document fragment. I'm sure I'm not the first to get upset about this. And document fragment failed to execute. Insert a JSON element. Can create a template element, add string content via its inner HTML, get a document fragment from its content property, and then, yeah, append child. Not interested in append child. All right, we're going back. We're going back. I wish we didn't have to. But instead, we are saying current element dot parent element dot insert before, because there's no insert after, if I am correct. JavaScript insert after. Maybe someone will propose an alternative. Yeah, I feel like I've done all this stuff. However, it hasn't supported right. Okay, that's the life we're living in. But I think pull in jQuery, not a bad idea. Nice. Insert before. And then what are the parameters of insert before? Come on now. Insert before. New node and reference node. So the new node is the clone, and the reference node is current l.next element sibling. Yeah. Which can be null, and then this will return. So let's see if we are still living. Refresh, fail. L.has attribute is not a function. L.has attribute. It's a document fragment. Did I do something wrong? This is a document fragment, but you should be able to. Okay, here's where things are getting wild. Does anybody see it? Anybody see what I'm doing? If you know the answer, help me out. If you don't, watch me struggle. Directives for, I'm going to the existing implementation to find what I do. So I get the clone, and then I am inserting before. Insert it where we are in the DOM. Right, it probably is returning the document fragment when I need to get the actual node. That's probably why, yeah, man, I feel like that's why I didn't just do current L equals. Yep, so let's do this. Current L dot next element sibling. That's what we're doing now. That's, well, I guess, yeah. Now we are green. Okay. So this is good. We start off, we're like, hey, if there's no previously X4 processed ones, then add the element. Transition it in. Now let's walk the DOM nodes and initialize everything, including new nested components. Note, we are resolving the extra data alias stuff from the DOM element values so that it's always up to date for listener handlers that don't get re-registered, whatever that means. I don't know if I like a lot of that. It didn't provide much value to me. So now we want to initialize this element, component.initialize, and it's going to be next L. And then we're passing in this thing. So this is where we're building up that thing we already have, if you recall. So we don't actually need this. We can do iteration scope variables, if that makes sense. And then we can actually swap this same thing for that same thing. Right? Yep. Cool. And then this, if we were crazy people, could be this. Right? Yeah. Liking it. We're getting there. Much cleaner. So much nicer that you can get this glance like right away. This is the happy path. Add it, get it, transition it, get the scope variables, and initialize it with the scope variables. That's that. Now the else section, this is where, like here, this is not bad. Update element, delete for the for key. I don't understand why we need to do that, because, okay, I'm deleting this, then I'm literally setting it right here. That's totally whacked. That can't do anything, right? That can't do anything. Call me crazy. Different property? Ha! Thanks. Yep. All right. If the keys don't match, how we doing on streamer audience? 27. Surprising to me. Thanks for all sticking on, staying on, sticking around. If the keys don't match, we'll look ahead to see if we can find it further down. So this is the look ahead, and I feel like we could extract this to next L. Like we could be like what would this be like if we did next L equals ayo. Yep. All right. So look ahead to find a key match and return. And then we could do find L by key. Look ahead to find a yeah, maybe. I feel like find L by key. I'm floating, but I'm sticking around. I just enjoy watching you code. Oh, cool, Richard. This is too advanced for me, but I'm just watching because I love Alpine so much. Tom. Hugo, too generic. You think what I'm doing is too generic, or find L by key is too generic? I I feel like find L by key is a little too generic. Look ahead to find a key match and move to current element. Maybe, you know, but like, look ahead to find a key match. Then maybe something about moving the L with matching key. Yeah. So what if we did this? Like, look, find... I like the look ahead language. Look ahead for matching keyed element. And this is where you would pass in next L. And then this, let's try our new skills. Extract all of this for now. Okay, ready for this? Get ready. Refactor. Oh. Why no refactor? Did I mess with some scopes? Why not? What's the deal? Why VS Code no refactor? Yeah, weird. Saw that there's an episode of No Plans Merge. Could listen to you two all day long. You should stream more often. Thanks, Nova. Okay, well, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, as much as I would love to get to the bottom of that. I selected too much. It's dumb. Oh, is that it? If there's no obvious output, you can't... That's it? That's crazy. All right. So here's what we're doing. I hate next L and current L. Grinds my gears. Okay. And now we're not going to do the insert thing. We're going to do a return. We're going to loop through. So refactoring basically breaks on while for loops. Lame. But I will still try to use it because it's still super useful. So, okay. So we're not actually going to do the insert before stuff right away. This will be put in its own function, which we'll get to in a minute. But we're going to do this while loop, and we're going to do this while loop. We're going to, if x4 key equals current key, so we need current key, we need next L and current key. And then if they match, then return temp next L. That's what's happening. That's good. So now that's extracted. Pass in, oops, current key. Okay. That's like matching L. It's like if matching L then honestly this might just be good enough to inline. Yeah. So if matching L, this is at least better. And then set next L. So like if matching L, then next L now equals matching L. Yeah. How do we feel about this? This is matching L. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. We might, too many nested ifs for me. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of nested ifs, but it's an improvement, right? Like it's an improvement on before, but you're just saying that it's not where you want it to be, I'm guessing. The keys don't match for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let me turn this light that's blaring in my face and giving me a headache off. 2 is fine, I think. Yeah, it's not. So like, let's just evaluate this for a second. If the keys don't match, like we could look ahead for a matching key element. We could do the check inside of this, you know, if we wanted. Like what if we did this? Yeah, I agree. The inline variable assignment thing. And we could have a guard up front. That's like, if the keys do match, no need to look ahead. You know what we could do? Oh, get on this train. What if the keys do match? Oh man. Get ready. Get ready, folks. What do you think about this? This is happy path time here, because this is like, you know, it's maybe a little bit less descriptive, but I mean, I could at least, maybe a middle ground would be like leaving this in, but yeah. But the look ahead will find it right away. Like the first one, it's going to find that it matches and it's going to return it right away. So this is like always going to get hit, you know, like there's no return early. There's no need for a return early. The only difference is before we weren't doing this insert before, but what's the issue? Like really what we're going to be doing is, oh, we might run into an issue. It's going to try to insert itself before itself. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that extra cost. It would have a cost. But all right, I think I need to back out of this actually. Right? Well, this is no different here. Let's keep going back here. Where were we before? We had the if statement, right? So what we need to do is this. We need to keep in that if statement that we had. We need to keep that. Yeah, I'm just gonna hit the undo button here a good amount of times, and I believe we need this if you think about it, because if we did it the other way, like the minimal way, the straight, the like all inline way, then we would be inserting before itself. You would be inserting an element before itself. What happens if you insert an element before itself? That is the question. So if we take this element here, we do this. Dot parent element dot insert before passing in this and passing in this. And now let's take a look at what happened. Did something happen? I don't know, but I don't like it. I want to preserve the behavior right now, even though a part of me is like, do that because it's less if statements, but don't know. All right. Temporarily remove the key indicator. Infinity loop. I don't think it would be an infinite loop, but 1 of 13 of the tests failed. Interesting. Could that just be some random failure? Adding key attribute moves DOM nodes properly. Matching L is not defined. Don't mind if I do. Define it. Okay. All right. And I think we are getting there. We are getting better. This makes me feel a little weird. Temporarily remove the key indicator to allow the normal update elements to work. So why delete? May not need this anymore because we refactored to a new strategy. We may not need it. I think we don't need it actually. Ha, we do. Listeners in loop get fresh iteration data even though they are only registered initially. Listeners in loop get fresh iteration data even though they are only registered initially. Elements inside of loop are reactive. We want it to equal baz, but it still equals bar. So for some reason, update elements, if you don't delete this thing, because, dumb. We're going to leave it there. Okay. Then we increment these things. And now, I would love for this to say x4 and then have dot key and then dot scope. That would be nice. I think we should do that. But then, hard life. I'm not gonna take it that far just now. This is just to make everything a little bit more straightforward. Now that we've added update or remove all elements of the current, right? Anything left over, we can get rid of it. So let's do clean up any leftover elements from last loop through. And this just needs current L. So we can take this whole thing and try with failure to refactor. Oh, hey, that worked. Extract to function in module scope called, I already did that. Clean any left. Remove any leftover elements from last loop through. Or maybe just remove any leftover elements. Yeah, I'm just going to do that. Okay. And that's in the wrong place. I like that. Yep. And then that's nice. This could probably be made a little bit nicer, but I'm not ultra worried about it. Feeling pretty good. Look at this. Okay. Still pretty massive. Var or let, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't see why this would need to be var. This is var because of hoisting, but it doesn't matter. I don't need it to be hoisted outside of the scope. It can be let, right? You think you can clean up the matching L part, Adrian? If the keys don't match, we'll look ahead to see if we can find it further down. If we find it, then insert it before an update. I don't know if we're going to get cleaner than that, honestly. It's pretty good. This is much easier to grok. Yeah. So what if we're just animals and do that? That's a good idea. Move outer to inner if into the function. Adrian says, move outer to inner if into the function. What are you saying? Move outer to inner if into the function. Can you clarify, Adrian? I'm feeling like we're doing pretty good on this refactoring. Feeling like I'm pretty beat, and this might be a good stopping point. We have all our tests passing. We do indeed. Move the if and nested into the function itself. Oh, okay. Hold on. So, any reason those regexes are being created inside the function instead of at the module level? No reason at all. Is it a big cost? If creating regexes is a big cost, I'd be down. And maybe that would be a good refactor, is isolating the regexes into, globally. I don't know. Maybe that parse for needs to be in the utils anyway. I don't know. All right, so let's see. What were we saying, Ryan? Move the not equals current key. So that's, you were explaining what Adrian was saying. Move outer and inner if into the function. Move this and this into the function. So to do that, we would need to say, okay, all right. I smell you. So we're going to say next L equals rename me, and this whole thing is going to get Adrian, this whole thing is going to get moved here. Works again. What is this called? If find, this is why I don't like this. What are we calling this? Adrian, name this for me. Or Ryan or Hugo or anyone. Oh, just call it move whatever. Find L by key. All right, so if it's find L by key, oh, you're laughing because you already suggested that. Just early return next L. All right, you guys are pushing me. You're pushing me there. All right. I think I'm in a little bit of a multi-cursor hell at the moment. Copy this. Paste it in. Okay. And you're saying you want to convert this to an early return type deal. Let me make sure that I didn't delete that from up here. So now we're saying look like idiots if the tests fail now. Yeah. No, I trust in enough people. I'm sure that even if it doesn't, it's fine. All right. If the keys don't match, if the keys do match is what we're checking for now. Yeah, right? Okay. So if next L is equal to the current thing, we just return L, right? That's what we're going to do. That's the early return. Then, okay, I think I like where you're headed here. Now we loop through, and if we come across it, we return the doodad. Yes, people? Shouldn't run into the Frau. I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. Tests pass. If the keys do match, then no need to look ahead. If they don't, we'll look ahead and move. We'll look ahead for a match. If we find it, we'll move it to the current position in the loop, right? All right. Hugo, I'm not sure declaring regex at module level will make much of a difference if the JS engine is interning them. Okay. All right. I'm down with that. Thanks for the push on that. This is much cleaner. I also think we can get rid of this now because, all right, warn if not template tag. Parse the for expression, get the iterator names, get the items, get the current element, loop through the items. We're going to change current element. We have next element. Get the iteration scope variables just for this iteration. Get the current key for this iteration. And now if there's no previously x for, if there's no x for if, whatever, bad English, but no time. If there's no previously x for'd, that's what this needs. Oh, processed, right? Processed element ahead, add one. Then create it, transition it in. Okay. Otherwise, look ahead for a matching keyed element. Delete the current key so that it's okay. Look ahead for matching key element. Look ahead for matching keyed element and move it if found. Okay. And now that's Nextl, do your thing. Okay, remove any leftover elements. That is scannable, my friends. Much more scannable. I'm happy with this. We could move delete inside too. Oh, Adrian, you are killing me. No, I wouldn't want to do that because this deals with this. So I wouldn't want to do that. Yeah, too far, Adrian. Back down. Too much. Okay. I am happy with this. I feel good about it. It's a refactoring. Let's make this official here. npm run build, and we will jest. I'd like to make sure that these streams wrap themselves up because I don't want to like have all these loose ends hanging that I start in streams. So I like the idea of starting and finishing something. Adrian likes the current state. Great. How's bundle size looking versus before refactor? Looks to be about the same, 7.03. Might be 0.01 less. Yeah, small bundle reduction. I wonder why. Good work at Caleb Horzia. Thanks. I mean, I feel like partially it was me, but mostly it was everyone else. All right, all the tests pass. I feel good about this. Everybody else feels good. That's great. We did the bundle. So it's time to commit this. Oops. Oh, computer broke. What in the world? Okay. We commit this now. Refactor x4 code. All right. And then we legit publish this. And now I know I just made more work for everybody who has an OpenX4 PR. I'm so sorry. Of course, you don't have to update your PRs, but it's helpful if you do. Why terminal no work? Why terminal no work is the question. Okay. Refactor X4. That's all we need to say. Should we be creating a GitHub issue about that XIF versus X4 precedence thing? Not unless it's an issue. Unless you think it's an issue. Maybe. I don't know. I'm probably never going to... I don't know. I'm not sure I would ever... Maybe I would. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we should. Ryan would. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. While I have you here, I mean, I this is kind of a privileged position right now. I have like most of the, except for Simone. So Ryan, Hugo, Adrian, all the people and everybody, but all the people who contribute to Alpine all the time, I super duper appreciate it. Oh, we're up to 6,000 stars, by the way. This is today. Super duper appreciate it. Oh, a bit of news. It's getting removed from Tailwind UI, along with all other JavaScript. But I was talking with Adam today, and we're going to have Alpine will have its own section. So when he explains JavaScript for Tailwind UI, it'll be like Vue, React, and Alpine, which is super nice of him. At least as far as I know. He's just been dealing with a lot of people being confused about the Alpine part. So I'm fine with it. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I feel bad because you all are putting in so much work and I'm not able to put in as much work right now because I just can't process every issue. You know, I can't work on Alpine full time basically. So my goal in the future, I would love to make Alpine profitable. I just throw random words at you without further explanation, Adrian. So basically what I'm saying is my future goal would be that I could have some of this monetized and pay people to keep up on issues and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I can't. Alpine makes $0. And yeah, so eventually, hopefully that'll change. But right now, basically, it's super helpful, all the work you guys are putting into it. If there's a head screaming issue in Alpine, like if there's an actual like real breaking change that's like an issue, no money, no problems. If there is feel free to email me and contact me directly. That is fine. Email is the best way to do that. If there's something, like real that's like, hey, we need you to look at this, I'm fine with that. I'll try to do more of these streams. Yeah, I would like to empower someone to close issues. I guess, I'm fine with that. So why don't we start with Ryan and see how it goes? Let's start with that. I'm going to, just so we don't have too many people. I like it. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Ryan, I'm going to give you permissions to close issues. Hugo, how do you feel about that? Do you want close issue permission? Would you use it? Yeah. Cause I guess like, how do you find the most active people in the repository? So this would be most active by contributions. I wonder, is this another metric that I could? No, this is just another thing. So yeah, Ryan, you're not high up at all. Surprising. So anyway, Ryan, I'm going to add you to close issues, and contributions drop down at top. There we go. There should be like, more than that. Oh, additions. What's up with that? Oh, because that's like one massive commit or something. Yeah, anyway. I know you're all super active, so issues that aren't closed despite responses from 2 or 3 people. Okay. So Ryan and Hugo, I'm going to give you both permission to close issues. And I suppose I'll do that right now because why the hell not? So how does this work? We're in Alpine, and if I go to settings, manage access, I don't think I'm revealing anything. I always have to check with myself, but all right. Manage access. So what would I be doing here? So let's just look at the roles first. This is an organization. An organization owner cannot be assigned any other role, right? So what are you? Paste in your names. Recommended for contributors who need to manage issues and pull requests without write access. That's perfect. I think this is exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. That's good, right? Like you guys, you can manage stuff and you can't tear down the whole world if you go twisted or are really drunk one night. Okay. You are now both triagers. Anyone else listening, I would like to build a community. So the best way to do it in open source is to contribute. And the more I notice you contributing, the more that I feel like you get the project and you're not a jerk and stuff like that. Hopefully we can build like a core contribution team. And then we can ramp it up. So right now, like, thank you guys a ton. You can close issues, you can help manage stuff. That's super helpful for me. I know so in Laravel, I get his Graham Campbell. Like this is what Taylor did with Graham Campbell, but he was a bit of a jerk at times and Taylor didn't always know about it. So it actually was kind of a bad thing for the framework. And a lot of people hated Graham because he would, I think labeling might be more useful than closed permissions. I feel like labels aren't that useful to me. Somebody labels every issue in Livewire and I don't get a ton of use out of it, honestly. He probably is, so I'm probably slamming a guy who's still really involved. But honestly, he's super abrasive. He's probably grown up a lot, but man, he would close issues and he would just be like a jerk. And then people would like freak out, and then like eventually it bubbled up to Taylor and everybody's like, what the heck? Like, Taylor, why did you let this guy run the place, So I would hate for a situation like that to happen. None of you are like that, but I will try to still keep an eye on things. But I really appreciate it. If there's issues that are ready to be closed, close them. And email me for important stuff. Maybe we have like a core contributor meeting once a month or something like that, just for people who are kind of in the project. That would be fine with me. But we'll keep these conversations going. We'll keep the streams going. I'll try to do these like once a week, maybe once every other week. Super helpful. Thanks everybody. And why don't I finish that freaking PR? Did I like go away from it? Did I? Oh, did I create the PR? Whatever. Can confirm Ryan and Hugo aren't huge jerks. Yeah. Thanks, Liam. Yeah. Missing Livewire stream. That's going to happen for sure. I work on both. I think and work on Alpine and Livewire about equal amounts. Livewire pays more. There's a lot more people who pay me for consulting in Livewire, and there's more people who support Livewire and all that stuff, despite the popularity difference. So after Livewire is settled, I want to get Alpine ramped up with supporters and stuff, so that hopefully Alpine can pay its own way to get more attention on it. All right, so I'm going to make this pull request, refactor X4. That's good enough for me. And yeah, and then that's what's going on. And I'm going to merge this into master. Need to get that out of there. So index.html. Yeah, cool. Thanks everybody for following along. I'm going to get this thing merged and then we're going to call it a day. I'm not going to tag the release yet because I do like a big sweep before I tag a release. I now test in like IE11 and stuff like that. So this is still there. I don't know why. Whatever. I'll deal with that. But yeah, here's the big refactor. I think we did really good. Quick question, X4 over object support. Should I update the PR for these changes too if you still want it in the core? Let's hold off on it, Ryan, actually, if you wouldn't mind. I kind of want to wait till... Yeah, I think I want to wait on that one. Basically, like here's... this is the law of projects, or of open source projects. It's like every extra feature you add in, it balloons, it just adds like... it doesn't just add that much more maintenance, it adds exponentially more maintenance. So right now I want to keep it low. Yeah, so way more readable. I appreciate everybody's help. I think we really improved this core, and this is definitely going to help in the Alpine rewrite when that happens, which maybe we should do a stream about that at some point, but I feel good about it. Thanks everybody a ton. I'm going to end this stream. Much love to you all. Oh, I said I was going to merge this, right? How can you even deal with my wandering trains of thought merged? All right, great. And I'll tag the release maybe this weekend. Good session. Have a good one, mate. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ending stream now.